She didn't scream when the first gunshot went off. She screamed when she realized the bullet was meant for her stomach. The cafe erupted into chaos, glass shattering, people running, chairs crashing to the floor. But all Priscilla could hear was the sound of her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. A man in a black jacket grabbed her arm. Another raised a gun, his eyes cold, calculating, aimed too low to be accidental. "Move!" he hissed. Her bodyguard went down in seconds. Blood on the tiles. No second chance. Priscilla ran. She ran through alleys slick with rain, one hand clutching her belly, the other shaking as she tried to dial the only man powerful enough to save her, the man who didn't know yet, the man who ruled the Korean Mafia like a king and would burn the city to the ground if he knew what they were trying to take from him. Behind her, footsteps closed in. Ahead of her, nowhere left to hide. And somewhere across Chicago, a dangerous man was about to learn 3 things at once: that his fake wife was pregnant, that his unborn child had been targeted, and that someone had just declared war on his bloodline. The question wasn't whether love could survive the Mafia anymore. It was whether anyone would survive what came next. Would you? Before we begin, take 1 second to subscribe if you love intense romance stories where danger, power, and forbidden love collide. This channel tells stories that don't play it safe. And subscribing helps these stories reach more people who need them. Now I want to hear from you. If someone threatened your unborn child, would you run or would you fight back? Drop your answer in the comments and tell me where you're listening from. Let's get into the story. The rope burned against Priscilla's wrists as her father shoved her into the back of the black car. She didn't scream anymore. Screaming never helped. "You're finally going to be useful," Victor muttered, his breath reeking of cheap alcohol. "After 23 years of wasting my money, you'll pay off my debts." Priscilla pressed her face against the cold window as Chicago's nighttime streets blurred past. She'd heard whispers about her father's gambling problem, his deals with dangerous people, but she never imagined he'd sell her like cattle to settle his accounts. The car stopped outside a towering hotel that sparkled with lights. 2 men in expensive suits yanked her from the vehicle and dragged her through a side entrance. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might burst through her chest. They took her up a private elevator, down a quiet hallway, and finally pushed her through massive double doors. The room was breathtaking. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the glittering city. But Priscilla's attention locked onto the man standing by those windows. He was tall and broad-shouldered, dressed in a perfectly fitted black suit. His dark hair was styled back from his face, revealing sharp cheekbones and a strong jaw. When he turned to look at her, Priscilla forgot how to breathe. His eyes were like black ice, cold and penetrating. He studied her the way someone might examine a painting in a museum, curious but distant. "This is your daughter?" His voice was deep and smooth, with just a hint of an accent. He spoke to someone behind Priscilla. "Yes, yes!" Victor pushed past the guards, rubbing his hands together nervously. "Beautiful, isn't she? Young, healthy, never been married. She'll make a perfect wife for a man of your status, Mr. Tae-min." Priscilla's stomach turned. Wife? Her father was actually trying to marry her off to this stranger? Tae-min walked closer, circling her slowly. Priscilla forced herself to stand straight despite her trembling legs. She wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing her crumble. "Look at me," Tae-min commanded. Priscilla lifted her chin and met his gaze. For a moment, something flickered in those cold eyes. Surprise, maybe, or interest. She has spirit. That's rare. She'll behave. I'll make sure of it, Victor uttered. You'll do nothing. Taemin's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. Your debt was $500,000. You've been running from my organization for 6 months. The interest has doubled your obligation. Victor's face went pale. But I don't have that kind of money. That's why I brought her. Take her and we're even. Taemin laughed, but there was no humor in it. You think one girl is worth $1 million? Please, Victor dropped to his knees. I'll die if I don't pay you. Your people will kill me. Yes, they will. Tae-min turned back to the window. "Take him away." The guards grabbed Victor, who began screaming and pleading. Priscilla watched her father being dragged out and felt nothing but relief. Let him suffer for once. When the door closed, silence filled the room. Priscilla stood frozen, unsure what would happen next. "What's your name?" Tae-min asked without looking at her. "Priscilla." Priscilla. He tested the name on his tongue. "From where?" "Zambia originally, but I've lived here since I was 10. And your father brought you to America for a better life, then treated you like property." It wasn't a question. Priscilla blinked back tears. How did this stranger see so clearly what others missed? Tae-min finally faced her again. "I have a proposition. You can refuse, and I'll send you back to your father. He'll find another way to pay his debt before my men find him. Or you can accept my offer and never see him again." "What's the offer?" Priscilla's voice came out stronger than she felt. "I need a wife. Not a real one, but someone to play the part. Business associates trust married men more than single ones. My enemies think a man with a wife has weaknesses they can attack. I need someone who can stand beside me at meetings and dinners, who can smile and make small talk, who can convince everyone that we're madly in love." "For how long?" "1 year. After that, I'll arrange for a quiet separation. You'll receive enough money to start a new life anywhere you want. You'll be truly free." Priscilla's mind raced. 1 year of pretending to be married to this cold, dangerous man. 1 year of whatever his world looked like. But then freedom. Real freedom, with enough money to build the life she'd always dreamed of. "What if I say no? Then you leave now. But your father's debt remains, and Victor is creative when he's desperate. He'll find another way to use you." The truth of those words hit her like a punch. Victor would never let her go. He'd sell her again and again until she was broken. "If I agree, you'll keep him away from me?" "Victor will never bother you again. That's a promise." Something in Tae-min's tone made Priscilla believe him. Despite his coldness, despite the obvious danger radiating from him, she sensed he was a man who kept his word. "I accept." Tae-min's expression didn't change, but his eyes warmed slightly. "Smart girl. We leave tonight." Within an hour, Priscilla found herself in another car, this time with Tae-min beside her. He made phone calls in Korean, his voice sharp and commanding. She caught her reflection in the window and barely recognized herself. Her simple dress was wrinkled from her father's rough handling, her dark hair was tangled, and her brown eyes looked too big in her thin face. The car pulled up to a massive mansion surrounded by high walls and security cameras. Guards opened the gates, bowing respectfully as Tae-min's car passed through. Inside the mansion, Priscilla's breath caught. Everything was elegant and expensive. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, paintings that probably cost more than most people earned in a lifetime. "Your room is upstairs," Tae-min said. "Second door on the left. Tomorrow we'll discuss the rules and your responsibilities. For tonight, rest." But before Priscilla could move toward the stairs, car headlights flooded through the windows. Tae-min's entire body tensed. "Get behind me," he ordered. The front door burst open, and Victor stumbled in, followed by 2 of his drinking buddies. He must have followed them somehow. "You think you can just take my daughter?" Victor shouted. "I want more money. She's worth more than that debt." Tae-min moved so fast that Priscilla barely saw it. One moment he was beside her. The next he had Victor slammed against the wall, one hand wrapped around her father's throat. "You have 3 seconds to tell me how you got past my security," Tae-min said calmly. "Your guard at the east gate," Victor choked out. "Paid him to look away." Tae-min made a quick gesture. His men appeared from nowhere, dragging Victor's friends away. But Tae-min held Victor in place, slowly increasing the pressure on his throat. "Please," Victor gasped. "I'm her father." "You're nothing." Tae-min's voice was ice. "You sold your daughter to pay for your mistakes. You're not a father. You're a coward." "Stop!" Priscilla's voice rang out. "Don't kill him, please." Tae-min glanced at her, surprised. "He doesn't deserve your mercy." "I know. but I don't want his death on my conscience." For a long moment, Tae-min studied her face. Then he released Victor, who collapsed to the floor, gasping. "Take him to the basement," Tae-min told his men. "Make sure he understands that if he ever comes near this house or this girl again, he won't be walking away." As the guards dragged Victor away, his screams echoing through the halls, Tae-min turned to Priscilla. "You have a soft heart. That's dangerous in my world." "Maybe, but it's still mine." Something shifted in Tae-min's expression. He stepped closer, so close that Priscilla could smell his cologne, something expensive and masculine that made her head spin. "Thank you," she whispered, "for saving me from him." "Don't thank me yet. You don't know what you've agreed to." But Priscilla reached out and touched his hand. The contact sent electricity shooting through her arm. Tae-min's eyes widened slightly, and she knew he felt it too. "I know enough," she said. Tae-min's control seemed to crack. He pulled her closer, his hand sliding into her hair. "This is a mistake," he murmured, but his lips were already lowering to hers. The kiss was fire and ice, hunger and control. Priscilla had never been kissed like this, like she was air, and he was drowning. Her hands clutched his suit jacket as he backed her against the wall, his body pressing against hers. "We shouldn't," she gasped when he moved to kiss her neck. "No, we shouldn't." But he didn't stop. They made it to his room somehow, leaving a trail of discarded clothing behind them. Tae-min was gentler than Priscilla expected, his hands exploring her dark skin with something like wonder. When they came together, it felt like the world shifted on its axis. Later, as Priscilla lay against his chest, listening to his heartbeat, Tae-min spoke quietly. "This complicates things." "I know." "The arrangement was supposed to be fake." "I know. But I can't promise to keep my hands off you now." Priscilla tilted her head up to look at him. "Then don't." Tae-min's laugh was soft and genuine. "You're going to be trouble, Priscilla, from Zambia." "Good," she smiled. "You look like you could use some trouble in your life." As she drifted off to sleep in the arms of this dangerous stranger, Priscilla wondered if she'd just made the best decision of her life or the worst. Only time would tell. Priscilla woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the feeling of being watched. She opened her eyes to find Tae-min already dressed in another perfect suit, sitting in a chair near the bed, studying her. "Good morning," he said, his tone back to business. "We have a lot to cover today." The warmth from last night was gone, replaced by his usual coldness. Priscilla felt the sting of rejection but pushed it aside. She'd known what she was getting into. "What do I need to know?" she asked, pulling the sheet up to cover herself. "Everything." Tae-min stood and walked to the closet. "I've had clothes brought for you. Get dressed. Breakfast is in 20 minutes. The closet was filled with beautiful dresses, elegant pants and blouses, shoes that probably cost more than her father made in a month. Everything was her size. Tae-min had planned this carefully. Downstairs, the dining room table was covered with food. Tae-min sat at the head, looking through papers while eating. "Sit," he commanded, not looking up. Priscilla took the seat beside him, suddenly nervous. In the morning light, everything felt different, more real, more dangerous. "Your new name is Priscilla Park. We met at a charity event 6 months ago and fell in love quickly. We married in a private ceremony last week. Your family is back in Zambia and couldn't attend. You're studying business management online. Can you remember all that?" "Yes." "Good. Tonight we have dinner with my business partners. They'll ask questions. Your job is to be charming, quiet when necessary, and completely devoted to me. Can you do that?" Priscilla set down her fork. "I can pretend to be devoted to you, but I won't be quiet if someone disrespects me." Tae-min's eyes snapped to her face. For a moment, she thought he'd be angry. Instead, he smiled. It transformed his face completely. "Good. I don't want a doormat. I want someone with fire." The rest of the day was a whirlwind. Tae-min's assistant, a sharp-eyed woman named Sun Hee, taught Priscilla about proper table manners, how to greet important people, which topics to avoid in conversation. By evening, Priscilla's head was spinning with information. The restaurant was exclusive, the kind where you needed to know someone just to get a reservation. Tae-min kept his hand on Priscilla's lower back as they walked in, the touch burning through the fabric of her red dress. "Remember," he whispered in her ear, "we're madly in love." The dinner was exhausting. Tae-min's business partners were all older men with cold eyes and calculating smiles. Their wives were polished and perfect, asking Priscilla questions designed to trip her up. "So you studied in Zambia before coming here?" one wife asked, her tone suggesting Zambia was somehow less than America. "Yes," Priscilla replied smoothly. "The education system there gave me a strong foundation, but I'm excited to be continuing my studies here." Tae-min's hand found hers under the table, squeezing gently. Approval. But then a new person arrived. He was younger than the others, handsome in a sharp way that reminded Priscilla of a knife. When Tae-min saw him, his entire body went rigid. "Cousin," the man said in Korean accented English, "I heard you finally married. I had to see for myself." "Chang-woo." Tae-min's voice was cold. "This is a private dinner. Family is always welcome. Isn't that right?" Chang-woo pulled up a chair, his eyes never leaving Priscilla. "And who is this beautiful woman?" "My wife, Priscilla." Chang-woo took Priscilla's hand and kissed it, holding it longer than necessary. "A pleasure. Tell me, Priscilla, how did you meet my cousin? He's not exactly known for his romantic nature." Priscilla felt the tension crackling between the two men. "We met at a charity event. He was different when we were alone. Kind. Gentle." "Gentle?" Chang-woo laughed. "Tae-min? Are we talking about the same man?" "That's enough," Tae-min said quietly. But Priscilla heard the warning beneath the words. The rest of dinner was uncomfortable. Chang-woo asked pointed questions, his eyes always searching, always suspicious. When they finally left, Tae-min practically dragged Priscilla to the car. "That man is dangerous," he said once they were driving away. "Stay away from him." "He's your cousin. Why does he hate you?" "Because I lead the family business and he doesn't. He thinks I stole his birthright." Tae-min's jaw was tight. "He'll try to use you against me. Don't trust him." Back at the mansion, the stress of the evening caught up with Priscilla. She kicked off her heels and collapsed on the couch. "You did well tonight," Tae-min said, loosening his tie. "I felt like I was being tested." "You were, and you passed." He sat beside her, close enough that she could feel his warmth. "Chang-woo will investigate you now. He'll look for weaknesses." "Will he find out about my father?" "Probably, but by then it won't matter." Priscilla turned to look at him. "Why are you really doing this? The fake marriage thing. There has to be more to it." Tae-min was quiet for a long moment. "There's a shipment coming in next month. Very valuable, very illegal. The authorities have been watching me closely. But a married man with a loving wife seems less likely to be a criminal mastermind. You're my cover." The honesty surprised her. "So I'm helping you break the law." "Yes." "And after the shipment?" "After that, the year continues as planned, unless you want to leave sooner." Priscilla studied his face. This man who was both terrifying and magnetic. "What if I don't want to leave?" Tae-min's eyes darkened. "Don't say things you don't mean." "I mean it." Priscilla moved closer. "Last night wasn't just physical for me." "Priscilla." Her name was a warning. "Tell me you didn't feel it too. Tell me it meant nothing." Instead of answering, Tae-min kissed her. This kiss was different from the first, less desperate but deeper. His hands tangled in her hair as he pulled her onto his lap. "This is a bad idea," he murmured against her lips. "Terrible idea," she agreed, unbuttoning his shirt. They made it to the bedroom this time, taking their time exploring each other. Tae-min whispered words in Korean that Priscilla didn't understand but felt in her bones. When they finally came together, it was like coming home. Later, as they lay tangled in sheets, Tae-min traced patterns on her skin. My parents were killed when I was 15, he said suddenly. A rival gang murdered them for control of the business. I was forced to take over, to become hard and cold to survive. I haven't felt anything real in years. Priscilla's heart ached for him. And now? Now you're making me feel things I can't afford to feel. She kissed his shoulder. Maybe it's time to let yourself feel again. The next few weeks fell into a pattern. During the day, they played the perfect couple. Dinners, meetings, charity events. Priscilla learned to read Tae-min's moods, to know when to speak and when to stay silent. His associates began to accept her, though she caught Chang-woo watching her with calculating eyes whenever they crossed paths. At night, they were different people. Tae-min would come to her room, or she'd go to his, and they'd lose themselves in each other. He taught her about pleasure, about desire. She taught him about softness, about trust. But danger was never far away. One night, Tae-min came home covered in blood. "It's not mine," he said before Priscilla could panic. "There was a problem with a delivery. I handled it." Priscilla helped him clean up, her hands shaking as she washed blood from his skin. This was his world. Violence and death were normal. "Are you afraid of me now?" Tae-min asked, watching her face. "No, I'm afraid for you." He pulled her close. "Don't be. I've survived worse." But 2 days later, Chang-woo cornered Priscilla at a restaurant bathroom during another business dinner. "I know who you really are," he said, blocking her path. "Victor's daughter, sold to pay a debt. Very romantic story." Priscilla's heart stopped. "I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie, it's insulting." Chang-woo stepped closer. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell me everything Tae-min is planning. Every meeting, every shipment, every weakness. If you don't, I'll tell everyone the truth about your marriage. I'll ruin both of you. He'll kill you. Maybe, or maybe I'll kill him first." Chang-woo smiled. "Think about it. You have 3 days to decide." When Priscilla returned to the table, Tae-min immediately noticed something was wrong. "What happened?" "Nothing. I'm just tired." But that night, lying in his arms, Priscilla knew she had to tell him. She couldn't carry this secret alone. "Tae-min?" "Yes?" "Chang-woo knows about my father, about everything. He wants me to spy on you." Tae-min went completely still. Then he sat up, his face dangerous. "What exactly did he say?" Priscilla repeated the conversation. When she finished, Tae-min was quiet for a long time. "I'll handle it," he finally said. "How?" "Don't ask questions you don't want answers to." He pulled her back into his arms. "Just trust me. Can you do that?" Priscilla pressed her face against his chest. "Yes, I trust you." But as she fell asleep, she wondered if trust would be enough to survive what was coming. The nausea hit Priscilla 3 weeks after Chang-woo's threat. She barely made it to the bathroom before throwing up everything from dinner. Tae-min was away handling business, so she suffered alone, gripping the cold tile floor. At first, she blamed it on stress. Chang-woo had been circling like a shark, showing up at every event, his smile sharp and threatening. Tae-min had grown more protective, keeping her close, but tensions in the organization were rising. But when the morning sickness continued for a week, Priscilla knew. She'd missed her cycle, her breasts were tender, and her body felt different, like something new was growing inside her. She was pregnant. The realization hit her like a truck. She sat on the bathroom floor, hands shaking, mind racing. A baby, Tae-min's baby. This wasn't part of the plan. Their arrangement had an end date. What would he do when he found out? Priscilla bought a pregnancy test from a pharmacy across town, where nobody would recognize her. When both lines appeared, she stared at them until they blurred through her tears. She had to tell Tae-min, but fear kept her silent. What if he thought she was trapping him? What if he threw her out? What if he didn't want the baby? So she hid it. She wore looser clothing. She ate crackers before getting out of bed to settle her stomach. She made excuses when she felt sick, but Tae-min was too observant. "You've been quiet lately," he said one night after another business dinner. "Something's wrong." "I'm fine, just tired." "Don't lie to me, Priscilla." His eyes searched her face. "We've been through too much for lies." "It's nothing, really." But Taemin's suspicion grew. He watched her more closely, questioned her more often. The warmth between them started to cool, replaced by tension and doubt. Then Victor returned. Priscilla was in the garden when she heard the familiar, hated voice. "There's my daughter." She spun around to find her father climbing over the back wall. He looked worse than ever, thin and desperate, his clothes dirty. "How did you get in here?" Priscilla's heart pounded. "I have my ways. Your husband's security isn't as good as he thinks." Victor stumbled closer. "I need money, Priscilla. Lots of it. I don't have money, and even if I did, I wouldn't give it to you. Don't be stupid. You're living in a mansion, married to a rich man. Get me money or I'll tell everyone the truth." Taemin already knows the truth? Does he know about the baby? Victor's smile was cruel. Priscilla's blood turned to ice. "What baby?" "Don't play dumb. I've been watching you. The morning sickness, the loose clothes. You're pregnant. Does your husband know? Or are you hiding it like you hide everything else?" "Get out." "Not until you give me what I want. $50,000, or I'll tell everyone that the baby might not be his. I'll say you were sleeping with other men before the marriage. I'll ruin you." "You're lying. No one will believe you." "Won't they? I'm your father. Who else would know you better?" Victor grabbed her arm, his grip painful. "You have 2 days. Get me the money or everyone learns the truth." Priscilla tried to pull away, but Victor's grip tightened. They struggled, and Priscilla felt panic rising. The baby. She had to protect the baby. "Let her go!" Taemin's voice was deadly calm. He stood in the garden doorway, and the look on his face made Priscilla's blood run cold. Victor released her immediately. "I was just visiting my daughter." "You were threatening her." Taemin moved closer, and Victor stumbled backward. "What truth are you going to tell everyone?" "Nothing. I didn't mean anything." But Taemin looked at Priscilla. "What's he talking about? What baby?" The silence stretched too long. Priscilla saw understanding dawn on Taemin's face, followed by anger. "You're pregnant?" His voice was quiet. "Dangerous." "Yes." "How long have you known?" 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Taemin's jaw clenched. "And you didn't tell me." "I was going to. I just needed time." "Time for what? To figure out how to use it against me?" The hurt in his eyes was worse than anger. "No, I would never do that." Victor laughed, and Taemin's attention snapped back to him. In 3 long strides, he crossed the distance and grabbed Victor by the throat, slamming him against the wall. "You came here to blackmail her, to threaten my child." Taemin's voice was ice. "That was your last mistake." "Please," Victor choked. "I just needed money." "You need to disappear." Taemin's grip tightened, and Victor's face turned purple. Priscilla watched her father struggle, and part of her wanted to let Taemin finish it. But another part, the part that was carrying a baby, couldn't let it happen. "Stop!" she screamed. "Please, Taemin, stop!" For a moment, she thought he wouldn't listen. Then he released Victor, who collapsed to the ground, gasping. "Get him out of here," Taemin told his guards, who had appeared from nowhere. "Take him somewhere far away. Make sure he understands that if he ever comes back, if he ever speaks Priscilla's name again, he's a dead man." As the guards dragged Victor away, Taemin turned to Priscilla. The anger was still there, but also confusion and something that looked like fear. Inside. Now. In his office, Taemin poured himself a drink and downed it in one gulp. Priscilla stood by the door, her hands protectively over her still flat stomach. "When were you planning to tell me?" he asked. "Soon. I just needed to figure things out first." "Figure what out? Whether to keep it? Whether to use it against me?" "No." Priscilla's voice rose. "I was scared, okay? Scared of how you'd react. Scared you'd think I was trapping you. This wasn't supposed to happen. Our arrangement had an end date, and now everything's changed. Taemin set down his glass and crossed to her. You think I would throw you out? That I wouldn't want my own child? I don't know what you want. You're cold one minute and warm the next. You say this is just an arrangement, but then you hold me like I mean something. I don't know where I stand with you. You stand right here. Taemin pulled her close, his hand moving to her stomach. With my child growing inside you, that changes everything. What do you mean? I mean this isn't fake anymore. You're carrying my air. That makes you family. That makes you mine. The possessiveness in his voice should have scared her. Instead, it made her feel safe. I was going to tell you, she whispered. I promise. I know. Taemin's hand was gentle on her stomach. How far along? About 6 weeks, I think. We need to get you to a doctor, make sure everything's okay. And then what? Taemin tilted her face up to his. Then we figure this out together. No more secrets, no more hiding. We're in this now, both of us. He kissed her then, soft and deep, and Priscilla felt tears sliding down her cheeks. She'd been so scared, so alone with this secret. But now Taemin knew, and he wasn't running. He was staying. That night, they lay together in his bed, his hand never leaving her stomach. I'm going to protect you both, he said, whatever it takes. What about Chang-woo? He's still a threat. I'll handle him. You just focus on staying healthy. But 2 days later, Chang-woo made his move. Word spread through the organization about Priscilla's pregnancy. Chang-woo started rumors that the timing was suspicious, that maybe the baby wasn't Taemin's at all. Think about it, Chang-woo told the other family heads. They married suddenly. She came from nowhere. Now she's pregnant? How convenient. Maybe she was already pregnant when they married. The rumors spread like wildfire. Some of Taemin's own men began to doubt him. In the criminal world, perception was everything. If people thought Taemin had been tricked, his authority would crumble. Taemin called a meeting with all the senior members. Priscilla stood beside him, her head high despite the whispers and stares. My wife is pregnant with my child, Taemin announced. Anyone who questions this fact questions my honor. Anyone who spreads rumors about her will answer to me personally. Chang-woo stood up. We just want proof, cousin. A paternity test would clear everything up. You want proof? Taemin's voice was deadly. The proof is my word. Is that not enough? In business, we verify everything. Surely you understand. The room fell silent. This was a direct challenge to Taemin's leadership. I'll take your test, Priscilla said suddenly. All eyes turned to her. After the baby is born, we'll do a paternity test. I have nothing to hide. Taemin looked at her, surprised. She squeezed his hand. But until then, Priscilla continued, you'll show respect. I'm carrying this family's future. That deserves honor, not suspicion. Several of the older members nodded. A woman defending herself and her unborn child was powerful. Even criminals respected that. Chang-woo's face darkened. His play hadn't worked. Of course, we meant no disrespect. But as the meeting ended and everyone left, Priscilla saw the hatred in Chang-woo's eyes. This wasn't over. He would keep coming until one of them was destroyed. That night, Taemin held her close. You were brave today. I was terrified. You didn't show it. You stood up to them like a queen. He kissed her forehead. I'm sorry I doubted you even for a moment. We're both learning, Priscilla said, how to trust, how to be real with each other. I love you. The words came out rough, like they hurt. I didn't want to. I tried not to, but I do. Priscilla's heart soared. I love you too. They made love slowly that night. Taemin careful and gentle with her body, worshipping the place where their child grew. Afterward, lying in the dark, Priscilla felt something wet on her shoulder. Taemin was crying. What's wrong? She whispered. I'm scared, he admitted. I've never been scared before, not since I was 15, but now I have you and the baby, and I'm terrified of losing you both. Priscilla held him tight. "You won't lose us. We're stronger together." But even as she said it, she wondered if love would be enough to survive the war that was coming. Chang-woo struck 3 days later. 5 of Tae-min's businesses were attacked simultaneously: 2 restaurants, a nightclub, and 2 import warehouses. The message was clear. This was war. Tae-min left immediately to assess the damage, leaving Priscilla at the mansion with extra guards. She paced the bedroom, worry eating at her. The baby was growing. She was 10 weeks along now, her stomach just starting to show. Every moment felt fragile, like the happiness could shatter. Sunhee came to check on her, bringing tea and food. "He'll be fine," the assistant said. "Mr. Tae-min always survives." But for how long? Chang-woo won't stop. No, he won't, which is why we must be ready. When Tae-min returned after midnight, he was exhausted but unhurt. Priscilla threw herself into his arms. "I was so worried." "I'm here. I'm safe." He held her tight. "But things are escalating. I'm moving you to a safe house tomorrow." "What?" "No, I want to stay with you." "It's too dangerous. Chang-woo knows where we live. If he comes here, if he gets to you and the baby—" Tae-min's jaw clenched. "I can't risk it. I won't be locked away while you fight this war alone. You're not fighting. You're protecting our child. That's more important than anything else." They argued for an hour, voices rising and falling. But in the end, Priscilla understood. The baby came first. Her pride and stubbornness mattered less than keeping their child safe. The safe house was a smaller mansion outside the city, surrounded by woods and security. Tae-min's most trusted guards stayed with her. He visited every night, exhausted and tense, but he always made time to hold her, to talk to the baby growing inside her. "I promise you'll know peace," he whispered to her stomach. "You'll never have to live the life I lived." But peace was far away. Chang-woo's attacks continued. More businesses burned, more men died. The organization was splitting into those loyal to Tae-min and those who saw Chang-woo as the future. 3 weeks into her exile at the safe house, Priscilla was going crazy with boredom and worry. She could only read so many books, watch so many shows. She needed to move, to do something. Against Tae-min's orders, she convinced one of the younger guards to drive her into town. Just for an hour, she promised, just to feel normal again. They went to a small cafe where nobody knew her. Priscilla ordered decaf coffee and a pastry, savoring the simple pleasure of being out in the world. That's when she noticed the black car parked across the street, the same black car that had been behind them on the drive. "We need to leave," she told the guard, "now." But it was too late. 4 men burst into the cafe, guns drawn. The guard pushed Priscilla behind him and reached for his weapon, but they shot him before he could draw. Priscilla screamed as the guard collapsed. People ran everywhere, chaos erupting. One of the men grabbed Priscilla's arm. "Come quietly and nobody else gets hurt." "Let me go," Priscilla fought, thinking of nothing but the baby. She couldn't let them take her. She kicked the man in the shin, scratched at his face. Another man grabbed her from behind, trying to restrain her. In the struggle, Priscilla's hand found a fork on the table. She stabbed it into the man's arm with all her strength. He howled and released her. Priscilla ran for the back exit, her heart pounding. She heard them chasing her, but didn't look back. She just ran, protecting her stomach with one hand, running faster than she'd ever run before. She burst out into an alley and kept running. Behind her, gunshots rang out. She zigzagged between buildings, her breath coming in gasps. Finally, she ducked into a doorway and pulled out her phone. Her hands shook so badly she could barely dial. "Tae-min," she gasped when he answered. "They found me. Chang-woo's men. They killed the guard. They tried to take me." "Where are you?" His voice was deadly calm. She looked around, trying to find street signs. "I don't know. An alley. Buildings with red brick." "Stay on the phone. Don't move. I'm tracking your location now." Priscilla crouched in the doorway, shaking, listening to Tae-min's voice in her ear. He talked to her constantly, keeping her calm, telling her help was coming. 10 minutes later, she heard cars screeching. Then Tai Min was there, pulling her into his arms, checking her for injuries. "Are you hurt? Is the baby okay?" "I think so. I'm okay. But the guard, he's dead. He died protecting me." Taemin's face was terrifying. "Get her to the car," he told his men. "I'm going to make Chang-woo regret this." Back at the safe house, a doctor checked Priscilla thoroughly. The baby was fine, strong heartbeat, no complications. But Priscilla couldn't stop shaking. That night, Taemin held her as she cried. "I was so stupid. I should have stayed here like you said." "You wanted to feel normal. I understand that. But that guard died because of me, because I was selfish. He died doing his job, which was protecting you. He would want you to be safe, not guilty." Taemin kissed her tears away. "But you can't leave again. Not until this is over. Promise me." "I promise." Taemin's hands roamed over her body, reassuring himself that she was really there, really safe. Their lovemaking that night was desperate and intense, both of them needing to feel alive after coming so close to death. Afterward, Taemin made a decision. "I'm ending this. No more waiting, no more defending. I'm taking the fight to Chang-woo." "How?" "There's a meeting planned. All the family heads will be there to discuss the conflict. Chang-woo thinks he can turn them all against me. But I have evidence of his betrayals, of his deals with rival organizations. I'm going to destroy him in front of everyone." "That sounds dangerous." "It is. But it's the only way to end this war before our baby is born." He placed his hand on her growing belly. "I want our child to come into a world where I've won, where we're safe." "What if something goes wrong?" "Then Sun-hee has instructions. She'll get you and the baby to safety, give you new identities, help you disappear." "Don't talk like that. You're coming back to us." "I'll do everything I can to come back, but if I don't, you need to know that I love you. You and our baby are the best things that ever happened to me." Priscilla clung to him. "You're coming back. You have to." They spent the next 2 days together, barely leaving the bedroom. Taemin made love to her constantly, memorizing every inch of her body, whispering promises and dreams about their future. On the morning of the meeting, Priscilla watched him dress in his best suit. "I have a bad feeling about this," she said. "I always come back to you. Promise me." "I promise." He kissed her deeply. "Wait for me. I'll be home by tonight, and this nightmare will be over." But as Priscilla watched his car drive away, her hand on her stomach, she couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to go wrong. Hours passed. Priscilla tried to distract herself but couldn't. She paced the house, drove the guards crazy with her worry. Sun-hee tried to reassure her, but even the usually calm assistant seemed nervous. Then Priscilla's phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Priscilla?" It was one of Taemin's guards. "There's been a shooting at the meeting. You need to come now. Mr. Taemin is hurt. Bad." The phone slipped from Priscilla's hand. Sun-hee caught it and listened to the guard's report. Her face went pale. "We need to go to the hospital. Now." The drive felt like it took forever. Priscilla sat in the back seat, both hands on her stomach, praying harder than she'd ever prayed before. "Please let him be okay. Please don't take him from us, please." At the hospital, chaos reigned. Men in suits filled the waiting room, some injured, some dead. Sun-hee pushed through the crowd, pulling Priscilla with her. They found Taemin's second-in-command, a man named Jae-sung. "How is he?" Sun-hee demanded. "In surgery. He was shot 3 times, once in the shoulder, once in the chest, once in the side. He lost a lot of blood." Priscilla's knees buckled. Sun-hee caught her. "What happened?" Priscilla managed to ask. "Chang-woo tried to kill him, right there in front of everyone. But Mr. Taemin fought back. He killed Chang-woo before he collapsed." "Is he going to make it?" Jae-sung's face was grim. "The doctors are doing everything they can." Priscilla sank into a chair, her whole body numb. This couldn't be happening. Not now. Not when they just found each other. Hours passed. Priscilla sat frozen in that chair, unable to move, unable to think. Sunhee brought her water and tried to make her eat, but Priscilla couldn't swallow. Then the pain started, sharp and sudden, low in her belly. "No?" Priscilla whispered. "No, no, no." "What's wrong?" Sunhee asked. "The baby. Something's wrong with the baby." Sunhee's eyes went wide. She called for a doctor, and suddenly Priscilla was being rushed down hallways, voices talking over her head. "She's in early labor. The stress triggered contractions. She's only 15 weeks. Too early." No, this couldn't be happening. She couldn't lose the baby. Not now. Not while Tae Min was fighting for his life somewhere else in this same hospital. The pain increased. Doctors surrounded her, checking monitors, giving her medicine to try to stop the labor. "Please," Priscilla begged through tears, "save my baby. Please save my baby." As the world faded to black around her, Priscilla's last thought was of Tae Min, wondering if they'd ever see each other again. Priscilla woke to bright lights and the steady beep of machines. Her first thought was the baby. Her hand flew to her stomach. "Easy," Sunhee's voice came from beside the bed. "Don't move too fast." "The baby." Sunhee's smile was gentle. "Still there, still fighting. The doctors stopped the labor. You're on bed rest and medication, but the baby is hanging on." Relief flooded through Priscilla so powerfully, she started crying again. And Tae Min, out of surgery. Critical but stable. The next 48 hours will tell us everything. "I need to see him." "You can't move. Doctor's orders. But I can take you in a wheelchair in a few hours, once you're stronger." Those few hours felt like years. Priscilla lay in the hospital bed, one hand on her stomach, talking to the baby. "You have to stay strong," she whispered. "Your father needs you. He's fighting so hard to come back to us. You have to fight, too." When the doctors finally allowed it, Sunhee wheeled Priscilla down the hall to the intensive care unit. Priscilla had to brace herself before entering Tae Min's room. He looked so still. Tubes and wires connected him to various machines. His face was pale, his breathing assisted by a ventilator. Bandages covered his chest and shoulder. "Can he hear me?" Priscilla asked the nurse. "We don't know, but talking to him might help." Priscilla wheeled herself as close as possible and took his hand. "I'm here," she said softly. "Me and the baby, we're both here. We're both okay. But we need you, Tae Min. We need you to wake up and come back to us." She talked to him for hours, telling him about the baby's strong heartbeat, about how scared she'd been, about how much she loved him. Sometimes she thought his fingers twitched in her hand, but she couldn't be sure. Days blurred together. Priscilla split her time between her own hospital room and Tae Min's bedside. The doctors monitored the baby constantly. The pregnancy was considered high risk now, but each day the baby held on was a victory. On the third day, Tae Min opened his eyes. Priscilla was reading to him when she felt his hand squeeze hers. She looked up to find him staring at her. "Tae Min!" She pressed the call button frantically. "You're awake!" Doctors and nurses rushed in, checking his vitals, asking him questions. He was groggy and confused, but alive. Wonderfully. Miraculously alive. When they finally left him alone with Priscilla, his first words were, "The baby. Still safe, still growing. We both waited for you." Tears slid down Tae Min's face. "I thought I'd lost you both." "Never. We're fighters. All three of us." Recovery was slow. Tae Min had to relearn how to walk, how to move without pain. Priscilla stayed with him every day, her wheelchair beside his hospital bed. They healed together, supporting each other. Jae-sung came to update them on the organization. With Chang-woo dead and Tae Min victorious, his position was secure. The other families had seen him survive an assassination attempt and kill his attacker. In the criminal world, that earned respect. "What about Victor?" Priscilla asked. "Gone. We made sure of it. He won't bother you again." Priscilla should have felt something about her father's fate, but she only felt relief. He'd brought nothing but pain to her life. Now he couldn't hurt her or her baby ever again. 2 weeks after waking up, Tae Min was strong enough to be moved to a private recovery room. The doctors checked Priscilla again and declared the baby was stable. The early labor scare had passed. If she remained on bed rest and took her medications, she had a good chance of carrying the baby to term. That night, alone in their room, Tae Min held Priscilla carefully. "I almost died," he said. "When I was lying there bleeding, all I could think about was you, about never seeing our baby, about leaving you alone. But you didn't die. You came back to us. Because I had something to come back to. Before you, I had nothing worth living for. I lived because I was supposed to, because the organization needed me. But now I have a reason." "What are you saying?" Tae Min took a deep breath. "I'm leaving this life. All of it. The organization, the crime, the violence. I'm handing control to Jae-sung. I'm getting us out." "Can you really do that?" "It won't be easy. It'll take time. But yes, I can. And I will. For you. For our baby. I want to give our child a normal life. A safe life." "What will we do?" "I have legitimate businesses, investments, enough money to last several lifetimes. We'll go somewhere quiet, somewhere safe. We'll be a real family." Priscilla kissed him softly. "You'd really give it all up?" "I'd give up everything for you. You taught me that some things are worth more than power or respect. Love is worth more. Family is worth more." They held each other until visiting hours ended, making plans for their future. A quiet house by the sea, a nursery painted in soft colors, a life where their child could grow up without fear. 3 weeks later, they were both strong enough to leave the hospital. Tae Min's men had prepared a new house for them, far from the city and all its dangers. It was beautiful and peaceful, with gardens and trees and quiet. Priscilla was 4 months pregnant now, her belly round and obvious. The baby kicked constantly, strong and healthy. Every flutter was a miracle, a reminder of what they'd almost lost. Tae Min spent every moment with her. He'd changed completely. The cold Mafia lord replaced by a gentle, devoted partner. He talked to the baby every night, read parenting books, practiced changing diapers on stuffed animals. "You're going to be a wonderful father," Priscilla said one evening as they sat on the porch watching the sunset. "I'm going to try. I didn't have a good example, but I'll figure it out." "We'll figure it out together." As the months passed, Tae Min gradually transferred his power and responsibilities. It took careful planning and negotiations, but slowly he extracted himself from the criminal world. Some people weren't happy about it, but nobody dared challenge the man who'd survived assassination and killed his rival. Priscilla's pregnancy progressed smoothly. The early complications didn't return. She grew bigger, more beautiful, glowing with health and happiness. When she was 7 months pregnant, Tae Min surprised her with a wedding ceremony. Not the fake one from before, but a real celebration with a minister and flowers and vows that meant everything. "I want to marry you properly," he explained, "before our daughter is born. I want you to be my wife in every possible way." They exchanged rings and promises in the garden, with Sun-hee and Jae-sung and a few trusted friends as witnesses. When Tae Min kissed her, Priscilla felt complete. That night they made love slowly and carefully, mindful of her pregnant body. Tae Min worshipped every inch of her, telling her how beautiful she was, how much he loved her. "I never thought I could have this," he whispered, against her skin. "Happiness, peace, love, you gave me everything." "You saved me," Priscilla replied, "from my father, from that terrible life. You gave me a future." We gave each other a future. As they lay tangled together afterward, the baby kicked between them. They both laughed, hands on Priscilla's belly, feeling their daughter's movements. "She's strong like her mother," Tae Min said. "She'll be fierce like her father." 2 months later, on a warm spring morning, Priscilla woke with a dull ache in her lower back. She'd been having false contractions for days, so at first she ignored it. But when her water broke while she was making breakfast, she knew this was real. "Tae Min," she called out, trying to keep calm. "It's time." He appeared instantly, his eyes wide with a mixture of excitement and fear. Despite all his preparation, all the books he'd read and classes they'd attended, nothing could truly prepare them for this moment. "Are you sure?" he asked, already grabbing the hospital bag they'd packed weeks ago. "My water just broke. I'm sure." The drive to the hospital was tense. Taemin held her hand, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. Every red light felt like torture. Every bump in the road made Priscilla wince. At the hospital, nurses rushed her to a delivery room. The contractions were coming faster now, each one stealing her breath. Taemin stayed by her side, holding her hand, wiping her forehead, reminding her to breathe just like they'd practiced. "You're doing great," he kept saying. "You're so strong. I'm right here." The hours blurred together. Pain and pressure and pushing, doctors giving instructions, nurses checking monitors, and through it all, Taemin's steady presence, his voice anchoring her to reality. "I can see the head," the doctor announced. "One more big push, Priscilla." Priscilla gathered every ounce of strength she had left and pushed. The pressure was enormous, overwhelming. And then suddenly, release, relief, and the most beautiful sound in the world, a baby crying. "It's a girl," the doctor said, lifting the tiny, squirming infant. "A beautiful, healthy girl." They placed the baby on Priscilla's chest, and time stopped. She looked down at her daughter, this perfect little human she and Taemin had created together, and felt her heart expand beyond anything she'd imagined possible. The baby had a full head of dark hair, still wet from birth. Her skin was a beautiful golden brown, the perfect blend of Priscilla's dark complexion and Taemin's lighter tone. Her eyes were squeezed shut, her tiny fists waving as she cried. "Hello, baby girl," Priscilla whispered, tears streaming down her face. "We've been waiting so long to meet you." Taemin stood frozen beside the bed, staring at his daughter with absolute wonder. When the nurse cleaned and weighed the baby, then wrapped her in a soft blanket and handed her to him, his hands trembled. "She's so tiny," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "So perfect." The baby stopped crying the moment she was in her father's arms. She seemed to recognize his voice, the voice that had talked to her through Priscilla's belly for months. 7 pounds, 2 ounces, the nurse announced. 19.5 inches long. All her vitals are perfect. Taemin looked down at his daughter, and tears began falling freely down his face. This man who'd been so cold and controlled, who'd killed without hesitation, who'd ruled a criminal empire with an iron fist, was crying openly over the tiny baby in his arms. "I promise I'll protect you," he whispered to her. "I'll give you everything good in this world. I'll be the father you deserve." They named her Zahara, a name that meant flower. She was their hope, their redemption, their proof that beauty could bloom even in the darkest soil. The first week home was overwhelming. Neither of them had much experience with babies, so everything felt like a test they weren't sure they'd pass. Zahara needed to eat every 2 hours. She cried for reasons they couldn't always understand. Sleep became a distant memory, but they learned together. Taemin became an expert at swaddling. Priscilla mastered the art of nursing while half asleep. They took turns with the night feedings, supporting each other through the exhaustion. "I never knew love could feel like this," Taemin said one night, rocking Zahara at 3 a.m, "like my heart is walking around outside my body." "That's parenthood," Priscilla replied, watching them from the doorway, terrifying and wonderful all at once. As weeks turned into months, Zahara grew and changed. Her personality emerged bright and strong. She had Priscilla's determination and Taemin's intensity. Her laugh could light up any room. Her curiosity was endless. Taemin's transition out of his old life continued smoothly. Jae-sung proved to be a capable leader, and the organization thrived under his control. Taemin still received updates occasionally, but they felt like news from another world, a life that no longer belonged to him. Their new house became a home filled with love and laughter. The rooms that had once seemed too big and empty now overflowed with baby equipment, toys, and the chaotic joy that comes with a small child. Sunhee visited often, bringing gifts and cooing over Zahara. Even the stern assistant melted in the presence of the baby. "She's beautiful," Sunhee said during one visit. "She has both of your strengths." "I hope she has none of my darkness," Taemin said quietly. "She won't, because you're raising her with love, not violence. You're breaking the cycle." When Zahara was 6 months old, she rolled over for the first time. Taemin was lying on the floor with her, making silly faces, when suddenly she flipped from her back to her stomach. "Priscilla!" he shouted. "Come quick! She rolled over!" They celebrated that small milestone like it was the greatest achievement in human history. Every new development, every tiny step forward in Zahara's growth filled them with wonder and pride. On Zahara's first birthday, they threw a small party in the garden. The space where Priscilla had once faced her monstrous father was now decorated with colorful balloons and streamers. Where violence had once reigned, there was now only joy. Zahara sat in her high chair, her face covered in birthday cake, laughing as everyone sang to her. She had no idea about the darkness her parents had survived to bring her into the world. She only knew love and safety and happiness. "Look at her. We made that. We created something so beautiful." Priscilla wrapped her arms around Taemin's waist. "We survived hell to get here," Taemin replied, holding her close. "Every bullet wound, every threat, every moment of terror was worth it for this." That evening, after Zahara was asleep and the guests had gone home, Taemin and Priscilla sat on their porch watching the sunset, just as they'd done so many times before. "Do you ever miss it?" Priscilla asked. "The power, the respect, that old life?" Taemin thought for a moment. "Sometimes I miss the simplicity of it, when my role was clear and my purpose was defined. But then I hear Zahara laugh or I hold you in my arms, and I know I made the right choice. This life is harder in some ways, more vulnerable, more uncertain, but it's real, and it's worth everything. No regrets? Only one, that I didn't meet you sooner." Priscilla laughed. "If you'd met me sooner, you would have been a different person. Maybe we needed to go through everything we went through to become the people who could build this life together. Maybe you're right." As the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, they sat in comfortable silence, thinking about the incredible journey that had brought them here. From a hotel room where a desperate girl was sold to pay her father's debts, through fake marriage and real feelings, through pregnancy and assassination attempts, through gunshot wounds and early labor scares, through leaving an entire criminal empire behind. It had been brutal and dangerous and nearly impossible, but it had led them here, to this peaceful house, to their sleeping daughter, to a love that had been tested in every way and survived stronger than ever. "I want to tell you something," Taemin said, breaking the silence. "The night I met you, when you lifted your chin and looked me in the eyes despite being terrified, I knew. I didn't understand it then, but I felt something shift inside me. You were going to change my life." "I was so scared that night," Priscilla admitted. "But when I looked at you, I didn't just see a monster. I saw a man who was trapped, just like me. A man who was capable of more than he believed. You freed me. You and Zahara freed me from a prison I didn't even know I was in." They sat together as night deepened around them, hands entwined, hearts full. Two people who'd started from darkness and found light in each other. Inside the house, their daughter slept peacefully, safe and loved. She would grow up never knowing the violence that had marked her parents' past. She would only know the peace they'd built from ashes and blood and desperate hope. "Forever," Taemin said softly, the word a promise and a prayer. "Forever," Priscilla echoed, leaning her head on his shoulder. And as the night embraced them and the stars wheeled overhead, they knew, without question, that they'd found what they'd both been searching for without even knowing it: home. peace, family, love that transformed and healed and saved. The former Mafia lord and the girl he'd saved from her monstrous father had found their happy ending. Not through power or money or revenge, but through choosing each other every single day, through fighting for their love when it would have been easier to give up, through believing that redemption was possible, that even the darkest past didn't have to define the future. Their story was one of survival and transformation, of love conquering impossible odds, of building something beautiful from broken pieces. And most importantly, it was proof that people can change, that second chances exist, and that sometimes the most unexpected love stories are the ones that save us. This was there forever, and it was absolutely perfect. Thank you so much for watching this intense romance journey with us. If you love Tae Min and Priscilla's story of love, danger, and redemption, please hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from and which chapter had you most on the edge of your seat. Don't forget to like this video and share it with anyone who loves steamy, dramatic romance stories.